Measurements by the COSAC and Ptolemy instruments on the Philae's lander revealed 16 organic compounds, 4 of which were seen for the first time on a comet, including acetamide, acetone, methyl isocyanate and propionaldehyde. The only amino acid detected thus far on the comet is glycine, along with the precursor molecules methylamine and ethylamine. One of the most outstanding discoveries of the mission was the detection of large amounts of free molecular oxygen gas surrounding the comet. A local abundance of oxygen was reported to be in range from 1% to 10% relative to H2O. 2005, the 4th of March, Rosetta executed its first planned close swing by of Earth. The Moon and the Earth's magnetic field were used to test and calibrate the instruments on board of the spacecraft. The minimum altitude above the Earth's surface was 1,954.7 kilometers. The 4th of July, imaging instruments on board observed the collision between the comet Tempel 1 and the impactor of the Deep Impact mission. The 8th of November, Catalina Sky Survey briefly misidentified the Rosetta spacecraft, approaching for its second Earth flyby, as a newly discovered asteroid. The 13th of November, second Earth swing by at a minimum altitude of 5,295 kilometers, traveling at 45,000 kilometers per hour. The spacecraft passed the main belt asteroid at a distance of 800 kilometers in the relatively slow speed of 8.6 kilometers per second. 2009, the 13th of November, third and final swing by of Earth at 48,024 kilometers per hour. 2010, the 16th of March, observation of the dust tail of asteroid P 2010A2. Together with observations by Hubble Space Telescope, it could be confirmed that P 2010A2 is not a comet, but an asteroid, and that the tail most likely consists of particles from an impact by a smaller asteroid. The 10th of July, flew by and photographed the asteroid 21 Lutetia. 2014, May to July, starting on the 7th of May, Rosetta began orbital correction maneuvers to bring itself into orbit around 67p. At the time of the first deceleration burn, Rosetta was approximately 2 million kilometers away from 67p and had a relative velocity of 775 meters per second. By the end of the last burn, which occurred on the 23rd of July, the distance had been reduced to just over 4,000 kilometers with a relative velocity of 7.9 meters per second. In total, 8 burns were used to align the trajectories of Rosetta 67p, with the majority of the deceleration occurring during 3 burns, delta Vs of 291 meters per second on the 21st of May, 271 meter per second on the 4th of June, and 91 meters per second on the 18th of June. The 14th of July, the OSIRIS onboard imaging system returned images of Comet 67p, which confirmed the irregular shape of the comet. The 6th of August, Rosetta arrives at 67p, approaching to 100 kilometers and carrying out a thruster burn that reduces its relative velocity to 1 meter per second. Commences comet mapping and characterization to determine a stable orbit and viable landing location for Philae. The 4th of September, the first science data from Rosetta's ALICE instrument was reported, showing that the comet is unusually dark in ultraviolet wavelengths, hydrogen and oxygen are present in the coma, and no significant areas of water ice have been found on the comet's surface. Water ice was expected to be found as the comet is too far from the Sun to turn water into vapor. The 10th of September 2014, Rosetta enters the global mapping phase, orbiting 67p at an altitude of 29 kilometers. The 12th of November 2014, Philae lands on the surface of 67p. The 10th of December 2014, data from the Rosetta mass spectrometers show that the ratio of heavy water to normal water on Comet 67p is more than 3 times that on Earth. The ratio is regarded as a distinctive signature, and the discovery means that Earth's water is unlikely to have originated from comets like 67p. 2015-14, April 2015, scientists report that the comet's nucleus has no magnetic field of its own. The 2nd of July 2015, scientists report that active pits, related to sinkhole collapses and possibly associated with outbursts, have been found on the comet. The 11th of August 2015, scientists release images of a comet outburst that occurred on the 29th of July 2015. The 28th of October 2015, scientists publish an article in Nature reporting high levels of molecular oxygen around 67p. November 2014 to December 2015, Rosetta escorted the comet around the Sun and performed riskier investigations. 2016-27, July 2016, ESA switched off the electrical support system processor unit aboard Rosetta, disabling any possibility of further communications with the Philae lander. The 2nd of September 2016, Rosetta photographs the Philae lander for the first time after its landing, finding it wedged against a large overhang. The 30th of September 2016 mission ended in an attempt to slow land on the comet's surface near a 130 meters wide pit called Deir el Medina. The walls of the pit contain 0.91 meters wide so-called goosebumps, believed to represent the building blocks of the comet. Although Philae sent back some data during its descent, Rosetta has more powerful and more varied sensors and instruments, offering the opportunity to get some very close in science to complement the more distant remote sensing it has been doing. As part of the European Space Agency's media campaign in support of the Rosetta mission, both the Rosetta and Philae spacecraft were given anthropomorphic personalities in an animated web series titled Once Upon a Time. The series depicts various stages in the Rosetta mission, involving the personified Rosetta and Philae on a classic road trip story into the depths of our universe, complemented with various visual gags presented in an educational context. Produced by Animation Studio Design and Data GmbH, the series was initially conceived by the ESA as a 4-part fantasy-like series with a Sleeping Beauty theme that promoted community involvement in Rosetta's wake up from hibernation in January 2014. After the success of the series, the ESA commissioned the studio to continue producing new episodes in the series throughout the course of the mission. A total of 12 videos in the series were produced from 2013 to 2016, with a 25-minute compilation of the series released in December 2016, after the end of the mission. In 2019, Design and Data adapted the series into a 26-minute planetarium show that was commissioned by the Swiss Museum of Transport, and solicited to 18 planetariums across Europe, with an aim to inspire the young generation to explore the universe. The Rosetta and Philae characters featured in Once Upon a Time, designed by ESA employee and cartoonist Carlo Palazzari, became a central part of public image of the Rosetta mission, appearing in promotional material for the mission such as posters and merchandise, and often credited as a major factor in the popularity of the mission among the public. ESA employees also role-played as the characters on Twitter throughout the course of the mission. The characters were inspired by the JAXA's kawaii characters, whom portrayed a number of their spacecraft, such as Hayabusa 2 and Akatsuki, with distinct anime-like personalities. The script for each episode of the series is written by science communicators at the European Space Research and Technology Center, who kept close with mission operators and the producers at Design and Data. Canonically, Rosetta and Philae are depicted as siblings, with Rosetta being the older sister, inspired by the spacecraft's feminine name, of Philae, her younger brother. The Giotto spacecraft is also depicted as the duo's grandfather, whereas others in the Halley Armada as well as NASA's Deep Impact and Stardust spacecraft are depicted as their cousins. To promote the spacecraft's arrival at Comet 67P, Churyumov-Gerasimenko and the landing of Philae in 2014, a short film was produced by the European Space Agency with Polish visual effects production company Platige Image. Titled Ambition, the film, shot in Iceland, stars Irish actor Aidan Gillen, known for his roles in Game of Thrones and The Wire, and Irish actress Aisling Franciosi, also of Game of Thrones fame, and was directed by Oscar-nominated Polish director Tomasz Baginski. Set in the far future, Ambition centers around a discussion between a master, played by Gillen, discussing the importance of ambition with his apprentice, played by Franciosi, using the Rosetta mission as an example of such. Ambition was premiered at the British Film Institute's Sci-Fi Days of Fear and Wonder Film Festival in London on the 24th of October 2014, 3 weeks before the landing of Philae on 67P, Churyumov-Gerasimenko. British science fiction author and former ESA employee Alistair Reynolds spoke about the film's message at the premiere, stating to the audience that our distant descendants may look back to Rosetta with the same sense of admiration that we reserve for, say, Columbus or Magellan. The film's conception was the result of the BFI's inquiry to the ESA for a contribution to their celebration of science fiction, with the ESA taking the opportunity to promote the Rosetta mission through the festival. Critical reception of the film upon its premiere was mostly positive. Tim Reyes of Universe Today complimented the titular theme of ambition in the film, stating that it shows us the forces at work in and around ESA, and that it might accomplish more in 7 minutes than Gravity did in 90. Ryan Wallace of the Science Times also gave praise to the film, writing, "Whether you're a sci-fi fanatic, or simply an interested humble astronomer, the short clip will undoubtedly give you a new view of our solar system, and the research out there in space today." Media coverage. The entire mission was featured heavily in social media, with a Facebook account for the mission and both the satellite and the lander having an official Twitter account portraying a personification of both spacecraft. The hashtag #CometLanding gained widespread traction. A live stream of the control centers was set up, as were multiple official and unofficial events around the world to follow Philae's landing on 67P. On the 23rd of September 2016, Vangelis released the studio album Rosetta in honor of the mission, which was used on the 30th of September in the Rosetta's Final Hour streaming video of the ESA livestream event, Rosetta Grand Finale.